Whoa, ho, ho, wow. Are we ready today for something? Oh boy. I'm supposed to make this? Watch the Darius clip. Link me. Can you give warning before talking alien spoilers, please? Yeah. Spoilers, there's aliens.
Interesting was this thread of this common thread of disassociation. You know, fame is a privilege, but it's also traumatic to people who, well, anybody. It can be traumatic to anybody, but specifically minors. And I think that it was interesting talking to the participants of the film because I noticed that there were chunks of memories or chunks of times that we all don't remember. And I think that's a direct response to trauma.
Yeah. And what's out there that can be done or is being done right now?
I'm guessing this makes sense in context, right?
Free Rogan! Free Destiny, mother! Free Stephen Kenneth Bumble II! He did nothing wrong! And you take that shirt? No. I just did. Oh, and you did nothing. Shut your up. Don't come at me, bro. You're gonna do something. Don't touch me. What you gonna do? Do.
Okay, I was cringe. I don't know what you want me to say. Darius being Darius. Listening to you talk about weight loss yesterday, and the simple way to lose weight is to track all your calories on a spreadsheet and stay below a calorie limit. True. Cool. I'm waiting for... I'm doing it. Oh, wait. Oh, we're waiting for Bisco.
Destiny, if you disagree, because Destiny, if you disagree, because Destiny has famously argued with people about, you know, Dr. K. First, you need to listen to the 3 episodes in totality. It's like 12 hours of content before you're entitled to disagree. We demand, like Jordan Peterson, you go back through the back catalogue, listen to them.
That's the price of entry. The price of entry to engaging with us.
We don't want to hear it otherwise, okay? No bitchy, because we've done the work. We went through all that content, so there you go. That's it. That's just preempting before people start saying that we should discuss it. We're open to discussing that, but you have to have done the legwork.
Do the work. Got to do the work.
Get through the work. Be better.
Oh, I don't even know if I disagree with them. I don't even know what they've said about Dr. K. I haven't watched that much. Okay, what do you got?
Yo, what's up? You have to start the space on your Twitter account.
Okay. Sorry. What was that?
Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right, bro. And then I'll join it.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
Everything will be okay.
We'll see about that one.
And you got to make me a co-host or whatever, so I can, if I need to, I'll bring people up.
Okay, so for new Twitter users, how do you start a space? Oh, create your space. I found it. Hold on.
Yeah. Title it something good. Title it something that people care about.
What are we even spacing about?
We're spacing about crazy Republicans. I'm going to start with Mark Robinson and the insane non-reaction from the right. And then we're going to talk about how Trump is a threat to democracy. The things we usually talk about, Mr. Brain. We're going to be standing Kamala.
Do I want to record space?
Yeah.
Okay. And then, do I need to add topics? Do we need topics?
Make your title. Put
news.
Kamala Harris.
Okay. U.S. national news. Wait, hold on. Okay. Entertainment, maybe? Nah.
Monka Giga.
And then start now. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Did you start it?
I think. Hold on. It's making it.
Making my way downtown.
Okay. Do I need to invite you?
No, I'll just join it and you make me co-host.
Okay. Hurry up. It's up.
All right.
Good luck.
Bye.
God, I hate that guy. Oh, I see Pisco. Okay. Oh, space. Left. Hold on. Does he have to request it or? Manage space. Oh, okay. Invite co-host. Pisco. Send invite. There we go. Do I need to tweet about this space or?
Yo, yo, yo. Can you hear me?
God.
Steven, you have to unmute yourself.
I know. I'm working. I'm looking for it. Hello?
How you doing? You can hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
I certainly can.
Cool.
How are you?
I'm doing great. Do I need to tweet about this?
You should tweet about it. You should get as many eyes on it as possible. We want MAGA conservatives to defend themselves, to defend their candidate.
Okay. Got it.
So we want
What's going on in
MAGA
this world, Stephen?
conservatives.
That's a good question, Pisco.
You want to know the world I want?
Tell me what world you want. Tell me about the world that Pisco wants.
The world I want is one in which we don't have an unhinged opposition party. The world I want is when a candidate for Republican governor comes out with these horrific statements some time ago, calling himself a black Nazi pervert who loves Hitler and loves transgender porn, being a hypocrite on the issue of LGBTQ issues, says he's a peeping Tom, says he's a freak, loves Hitler. I want it to take less than 48 hours for a single Republican establishment folk to condemn those statements and the lies he told to try to cover them up. That's the world I want. And I think that
Have
we live
any
in a
of
world
those have any of those Republicans come forward yet? Certainly Ben Shapiro.
Mum is
or
the word.
Certainly some Daily Wire person who they have strong family values. Certainly some Megyn Kelly or somebody must, right? Somebody's come forward. Somebody on
But the
Fox
thing
News,
is,
maybe.
It's not even surprising, Stephen. This guy's already on record casting doubt on the Holocaust. He's already on record saying we ought to talk about language that's dehumanizing, language that's leading to violence. This guy's literally talking about killing people with a clear reference to Democrats. And so where's the condemnation of that, Piers Morgan? Where's the statement against that, Piers Morgan? The focus seems to be on calling Trump what he is, an authoritarian wannabe, an anti-democratic attempted autocrat who tried to steal a 2020 election. It's the focus on rhetoric seems to be on completely true anodyne statements, as opposed to a self-avowed black Nazi. And I want to see less double standards in the world I want.
Based. Wow. You can can accept speakers, right? Am I supposed to be accepting them? Or, go for it.
So I want now to hear from people who are going to defend the silence of MAGA or the MAGA movement in general, or say that it's anything other than complete degenerate weirdos who have corrupted one of the major political movements in the history of our country. And we're going to start with Brian Thanos. All right, Brian Thanos. We're going to approve. Mr. Thanos, you've been approved, but I don't see you anymore. That might have been an accidental, Brian
No,
Thanos.
I'm here.
Oh, you're here. Give us your thoughts.
My thoughts are that I think that a lot of Republicans will probably defend Robinson. I mean, everything's very, very partisan. I mean, but to be fair, I mean, if there was some probably big Democrat scandal on the left, I think a lot of Democrats would probably defend it in the exact same way. I don't think that there's like, I mean, either party has like a large like moral high ground here. I mean, both will kind of lie shamelessly and cover up any sort of scandal that they think is going to hurt them politically, especially when you come up to an election. I feel like tensions are so high, and both sides have told you that if the other side wins, it's essentially the end of the country. So it's like, kind of the ends justify the means type of thing where, you can go to any length in order to try to help your side win if you think that the alternative is the destruction of the country.
Excuse my French, but that's fucking bullshit. Remember Al Franken?
Fuck, I was just gonna bring him up. Fuck you.
Oh, go. No, you go. Cook.
No, I was just gonna say, like,
Cook.
Al Franken had, I believe it was one picture of him touching a woman's breast through her shirt. I didn't follow this closely in terms of, I don't believe any more serious allegations came out. I think a few women had said that he had made like inappropriate jokes kind of when he was doing comedy a long time ago. But Al Franken was basically immediately castigated and then thrown aside from the Democratic Party. I can't think of Republicans holding anybody to.
Really? I can. What about, didn't George Santos, didn't he get pushed out?
I know you're bringing him up as an example.
You can't possibly be bringing up George Santos.
He did. He got pushed out.
How long? I remember looking at George Santos months later. I'm like, wait a second, this guy's still in office? That's your go-to? How long did it take for him to actually get kicked out when it was revealed that he was lying about fucking everything?
So no, but now you asked me for an example of say the Republicans holding, kind of holding their own accountable. Now you're saying that it took too long. Okay. Maybe we could agree that it took too long, but I mean, they still did hold their own accountable at, to some extent, right?
It took until after a federal indictment. It took until we found out, oh my God, this guy's like scamming elderly people before we have a tepid, and by the way, contested effort to get rid of George Santos, which was clearly done for internal political benefit of New York Republicans who have been pushing it the whole time because they saw the writing was on the wall. It was in their interest, those New York Republicans in a kind of highly divided House, to push him out after so long, after it was revealed that this guy was essentially lying about absolutely everything. But we already knew the extent of his degradation, and we already knew the fact that he had completely fabricated his resume beforehand. There's no comparison to what happened to Al Franken or indeed Andrew Cuomo. As another example, Andrew Cuomo was one of the most popular governors in one of the most Democrat states, and he was kicked the fuck out.
Yeah, he was. No, I agree. I mean, like you said, there could be examples of, say, both sides where they will eventually push people to the side. But I think I'm sure there's examples too of the contrary where there's it's like, say, for example, like say you look at Mark Robinson. First off, this stuff just dropped, so it's going to be interesting to kind of see how everything unfolds over the next week or two.
But not a word, Brian. Not a single word on.
I don't support this guy. I mean,
no. I'm saying not you.
Somehow, I'm going to be on stage with like Mark Robinson, like rallying for I don't.
Why haven't national Republicans?
Mark Robinson.
Trump released a statement, right? They released a statement like, "Hey, we're focusing on North Carolina. We need to win North Carolina." Doesn't even address that this guy called himself a black Nazi. Mm-hmm. Be like, "Hey, that's messed up," or at least saying, "Hey, those were statements a long time ago. I don't think they reflect him now." Like nothing.
I mean, is that a surprise? I mean,
But if this were the other way around, right? If this were Cory Booker, who there's like confirmed logs of him saying, Cory Booker, yeah, I'm a black Nazi, I'm a pervert, I love transgender porn. The silence is deafening, Thanos.
Yeah, no, I like if you're saying that, okay, yeah, Republicans are going to be extremely partisan and they're going to try to, act like a lot of this didn't happen. I agree with you, but
aren't they more partisan? Wouldn't you agree they're more partisan, more degenerate?
Sorry, one more time?
Wouldn't you agree it's a difference, a substantial difference? Wouldn't you agree with that?
What do you mean, like a substantial difference?
Like, I think the question would be, can you think of anything equivalent that's happened in the last 20 years on the Democrat side?
Oh yeah. I can give you examples for sure of like, say, Democrats kind of trying to win elections at all costs. Like I do think that.
No, wait.
I
I want to hear one. Give me one example.
Okay. No, I'd be happy to give you an example. So, for example, I'd say a good example is, look during, like the summer of 2020, where there was, massive riots that were completely downplayed, and there was an effort to try to make them seem like, they were mostly peaceful.
Hold on.
There wasn't
I'm looking for an example of one Democrat lawmaker or leader who is very clearly out of line, massively out of line, that the Democratic Party is not calling out or throwing out. That's what I'm looking for.
Oh, there's a lot of examples. Just during the summer of 2020, I mean, there was, governors and mayors, asking the police force to stand down and not to, basically enforce the law, because they felt like that was the politically advantageous thing to do, as cities were on fire and businesses were just getting toppled. So I don't think there's a moral high ground here where, like,
can you give me an example of one?
Oh yeah, let's go to Minneapolis. I mean, that one.
You're going to compare Tim Walls's reaction to Black Lives Matter to Mark Robinson? Have you lost your mind?
I mean, you asked for an example, and then I give an example.
Wait, that's a fine example. What do you make of the fact that Donald Trump complimented his handling of that situation? Because I think it took, was it 3 days to deploy the National Guard? Because he was waiting, I think, on an approval from, I think it was from the mayor, right? That's what was so, like, beyond the pale, or what did he do here that was so beyond the line? Because at the time, even Trump was giving him his approval. Even Trump was saying nice things about him.
Well, first off, you're saying Tim Walz. I'm saying Minneapolis. It was the
you said governors of
the mayor of Minneapolis. I can't think of his name right offhand, but I could easily look it up if this was like
okay, sure.
Deal. Like the mayor of Minneapolis. I mean, during the time of these riots, I mean, this guy was going to like this. He was, as like right after his city just got like burned down. He was trying to, he was going to these rallies and. Basically just like embarrassing himself, just walking up there, like it was complete lawlessness. So I mean, he did ask people. I mean, this is documented. I mean, they were asking police to stand. I mean, do you deny this? Do you deny that like there was Democrats?
Deny what? I actually don't know the allegation. Is the allegation that he was negligent? What is the accusation?
Well, you're saying they told police to stand down?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, there's an element of negligence, but I think it goes beyond that. I think they were, actionably. Trying to, almost allow for lawlessness.
For lawlessness. So you think that he was encouraging lawlessness?
I'm muted for a sec. Can somebody find me a story on this?
What is that called?
Where's Puggy at? Show me where this guy called police to stand down and allow like rioters to burn down cities. Can somebody find me a source on this?
Do you think that might have been a tactic to try to stop any confrontations or it from getting worse? Okay, don't you think that you need to, do you or do you not need to prove that the intent of, I believe you're referencing Jacob Fry, don't you need to prove that he wanted additional violence and lawlessness? Isn't that your burden to prove that that's what he wanted, as opposed to it being a tactic to try to, acquiesce to or to stop things from getting worse? Isn't it your burden, sir, to prove that his intent was actually to increase lawlessness?
Yeah, I think that
it is your burden, isn't it? Agreed?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Okay, so what is the evidence that you have that he intended it to get worse?
Yeah, I think it's pretty easy to see that was the case. And I mean, this isn't an isolated.
But that was his intent?
Yeah, I do think so, because at the time it was politically advantageous. And I'll tell you exactly why. Because, I think a lot of Democrats felt that if they sided with BLM, with the rioters, it was helping them, drive out vote. It was going to help them with black voters, etc.
To have the city burned down and go into chaos and anarchy, that would have helped Democrats.
I mean, it's sick. I mean, it's sick and disgusting.
Wait, no, you think that that's what he was going through his mind? You think that he was going through his mind is it's actually better to have anarchy. We want to have lawlessness, and we want the city to, go into complete chaos. That's what he was, a political calculation to make him more politically advantageous. That's what was going on in his mind.
Yeah, so let me explain, rather than trying to attribute what I say, do you think this? Let me just explain what I think. What I think, his main thought process was, he felt like it was politically advantageous to kind of stand in solidarity with BLM, even though they had committed, massive, violent actions. I think that was the case. So they were very, very, they went very, very soft on trying to prosecute these guys. I think it was pretty clear. I mean, do you disagree with that or no?
I think that the burden is on you to show that his intent was, as you stated, to increase chaos, to increase lawlessness. I think you could very easily, the other inference that one could make is this was an acknowledgement that what occurred, which was a murder, right? You agree that Derek Chauvin murdered George Floyd?
I mean, I don't agree with that, but no, continue.
You don't agree that he murdered George Floyd? And why is that?
I'll tell you why, because I mean, the guy had like several times the amount of fentanyl in his system that he needed in order to kill someone. I think that I think Derek Chauvin, I think he acted stupidly. I think that he shouldn't have, had the knee on the neck for as long as he did. But I also think that if George Floyd, if there was no contact at all between Derek Chauvin and George Floyd, I think George Floyd would have died anyway.
You acknowledge that the trial court went through the issue of causation, don't you? Did you watch the trial?
Yeah, I watched the entire trial. Yeah,
you watched the entire trial. So surely you saw the issues related to causation. And can you explain why you were convinced that he was going to die anyway when you were given expert testimony to the effect of it was absolutely the result of this sort of agonal breathing, that he wasn't able to get full airs because of the compression? Why is it that you were unconvinced by the expert testimonies brought to bear by the prosecution? And why are you not deferring to the jury's decision in terms of who is it guilty and where the causation actually was?
Yeah, no, those are all very good questions. The reason I disagree with the verdict is, I mean, the medical examiner, they had the report. I mean, the guy had several times the amount of fentanyl in his systems that you would have needed to kill someone. I mean, can we just ignore it? You're just going to completely ignor that, or I mean,
so
no.
do you acknowledge
No, so you
that
answer that.
just I'm about to answer it. That
Okay.
Yes, people have died with that dose of fentanyl before.
Several times. Not like he might have died.
Hang on a
Like
second,
several times as much.
But hang on. Evidence was presented to the effect that in George Floyd, it was not the cause of death because it was the reactions to the compression, and you could see he was short of breath and unable to get for air, and his movements and his speech indicated that he was not going through a fentanyl-based death situation, and it was way more likely that it was the compression. It might have been a triggering factor.
Also, I'm sorry, hold on, wait. Just as a resident, wait, real quick. Hold on, real quick. As the resident druggie here, okay. Just saying that somebody has more of a drug in their system that would be lethal to like an ordinary citizen, I don't think that's an argument that they died of an overdose, right? Because if somebody is a regular drug user and they built a tolerance to a drug, they can handle more in their system. I mean, it's not necessarily proportional, but you can handle more in your system than what would ordinarily kill a person, right?
Yeah.
So
okay, so let's go with that. I like that. So let's go with Destiny's argument. Let's go based off the premise that's the case that George Floyd can just handle like an ungodly amount of fentanyl, like no problem. He's like,
you agree that some people can handle that amount of fentanyl and not die? You agree with that?
I guess it's possible. I don't know. I mean, but
hold on, wait. Just to be clear, like
yes.
Okay.
Let's go off the premise of yes. Let me just continue with that one. How about that? Let's just go off the premise that the fentanyl, like, let's just say that he could have handled that much amount of fentanyl. Okay, we'll go from there.
Mm-hmm.
So, other parts of that are like, Derek Chauvin. Well, first off, another thing that was revealed during the medical examination is they said that there was like, no bruising, they weren't able to find any actual damage to his vertebrae or anything on the back of the neck. And another point I wanted to add too is just the way that Chauvin had the knee on the neck. It was on the back of the neck. In order to incapacitate someone, I do jujitsu, so I'm very, very experienced with this. I choke people all the time and I get choked as well. So I know the mechanics. I know choke mechanics really, really good. And there's two different ways. They have a blood choke and they have a windpipe choke. So a blood choke will cut off both the blood supply on both sides of the neck by just keeping blood from going to the brain. Or you have a windpipe choke where there's basically a compressional force on the windpipe. So just putting, applying a pressure on the back of the neck, it wouldn't necessarily choke anyone.
Yeah, so you agree that there was a pulmonary expert specialist who testified that he died from lack of oxygen, not from, impact from bruising. You agree with that?
I mean, how could they determine that? I mean, when you're saying, I mean, there was how are they cutting off his oxygen? I mean, I can understand there was weight on top of the neck, but I know I don't agree that like his oxygen was was cut off in a significant way.
Hold on, I'm so sorry. Wait. Hold on. I don't know if this guy's lying about everything. If he's headquartered in Moscow or what's going on here. Okay, hold on. So the point that you brought up earlier about drug overdose was completely not true, which is why you moved on from that. You say that you have a background in jiu-jitsu, all right? And you're talking about choking and strangling people, blood chokes versus air chokes. You know that people can suffocate without ever touching their neck, right? Like if I were to take a 2-year-old and sit on their back, they would probably suffocate, right? That their chest wouldn't be able to expand enough to take in air, or that you could sit on people, or that you could compress people's airways in ways that don't involve like applying direct pressure to somebody's throat. So why even bring that up?
I'll go a step further in that, Destiny. I mean, there's people that can if you're like 600 pounds, I mean, you could die by sleeping on your stomach. So it's
sure.
Like,
so wait, then why bring up that he wasn't in a chokehold?
So it's like the point is, like, if someone was like laid down on their stomach and ended up dying, like, would you charge someone else with murder? Like,
hold on. Absolutely, yes. What do you mean? If somebody was dying because we were having some physical confrontation where I'm holding them down, yeah, and they're having trouble breathing and I sit there, what do you mean? Of course. If I walk into a cancer ward and somebody's going to die in 3 days from cancer anyway, and I shoot the guy in the head, I'm still getting charged with murder, right? Just because somebody might have another issue doesn't mean that you can exacerbate it. Or like in another world, he might have been able to get medical assistance. Or in another world, maybe he would have.
Then how about this? Let me raise a question to you. So it's like, how about if we look like, okay, was this like, the primary cause of death, or was this a contributing factor? And if this was a contributing factor, I guess how much of a contributing factor would that have been?
If it's quote unquote a substantial cause in Minnesota, and so you watched the trial, right? So you heard the jury instructions, correct?
Yeah, I watched the trial. I mean,
okay, so then it doesn't need to be. It needs to be a but-for cause.
It
needs to be a but-for cause, and if it's a substantial cause in Minnesota, that's enough to show legal fault. And here we have, yes, absolutely, George Floyd had a prior heart condition, absolutely had fentanyl, but we heard the testimony from Dr. Tubin, I think that's his name, and that the compression that the full weight of Derek Chauvin on the neck, and that compression would be plenty to kill somebody who was being prone, that George Floyd was trying to move and complaining that he was having difficulty breathing, and then he has this spasm after he's not having enough oxygen from his breaths, these very, very shallow breaths, that indicate that the death was due to lack of oxygen. Why are you discrediting that? Why are you saying things like he had enough fentanyl in the system if you're acknowledging that it's possible? In fact, there are heavy fentanyl users who can regularly use above those levels. Why do you say he must have been killed by the fentanyl and not other things? Like, most importantly, the compression.
So that's a good question. So let's look at like the nuanced points, right? It's like, there could be multiple contributing factors that led to his death. So it's like, okay, like was Derek Chauvin, like, did he contribute like 0 to his death? Like, let's just say no, he contributed more than 0, but I don't think he was the primary cause.
Wait, hold on. Wait. When you say this, hold on. Do you have a child?
I know, I don't have a kid.
Okay. Imagine there's somebody that's having an asthma attack and they go to get their inhaler and you grab that person and you just like throw them on the floor and you sit on them. The primary cause of death is probably the asthma attack, right? Or in an ordinary situation, that person might not die at all. But let's say that you know that they're having an asthma attack. You've got a reasonable expectation that something really bad will happen to them if you sit on them while they're having an asthma attack. Would that person be at fault for murder?
Mm-hmm. So I mean, you're saying that it was in this situation that you're laying out, it was mostly the asthma attack that would have caused someone to die, but there would be a minimal contributing factor that was kind of like would have pushed them over the top if someone were to like kind of throw them down and be rough with them. You're saying. What you're suggesting, or like
in the hypothetical?
I'm just saying in the hypothetical that there's an inhaler across the room and they go walk and grab the inhaler and now they're dying, but the person's not like choking them out, but they're just sitting on them so they can't go and grab their inhaler, and then the person dies due to an asthma attack while the person's on them.
Okay, then fair enough. Then how about this? I'll agree with you this. So then like if we were to look at your if you were to look at the example that you gave, like for it to be equivalent, you would say that. The fentanyl was, say, a major contributing factor in what Derek Chauvin did. Obviously, contributed to a degree, but he was already on his way out because of the fentanyl. I mean,
why do we think? Wait. Why do we think he was going to die because of the fentanyl?
Because I mean, he had several times the amount that would have been lethal.
Well, no, wait. But we don't know what the lethal limit for him taking fentanyl would have been.
Him, yeah.
And we also don't. I don't know if we saw
I mean,
evidence.
As a person, I mean, like there is like it's not like we have like zero idea. Like, okay, there's people that have higher tolerance than others, but like the same point, like it's not like he's like a different species of it's not like he's a different species altogether. Like he's still a human being.
Like, you've already granted that some people who take fentanyl at those levels can actually live and can actually abuse at similar levels if they have a tolerance. And so you're just going back to that point, but you don't have additional evidence that was the cause of death. But Dr. Tubin, the expert, provided additional evidence about why the compression with the weight of Derek Chauvin was a substantial cause in the death of George Floyd. And to bring it back a little bit, you agree at the time that the mayor is reacting, we have no way to know what the fentanyl levels were. It appears to, you would agree, therefore, at the very minimum, in the month or two after this period, there was no reason for us to assume, and even if you were to buy your causation theory, there was no reason for us to assume that fentanyl killed him. It seemed obvious to people watching that it was the knee. You agree with that at the very minimum?
Oh yeah. Like when the video first came out, it looked very, very bad until we obviously found out about the evidence after.
And it looked less bad after that.
I think yeah.
Also, wait, real quick. Do you?
Okay,
and this is
I like your framing though. Come on now.
Wait, this is a very specific question, and if you don't have the answer, that's fine. But I'm curious. Do you know the levels that were found in his blood? You keep saying it was many times the levels that would kill somebody. Do you know like how high over?
Oh, do I know like exactly how many like micrograms?
Okay, you're making fun of the fact that I'm asking this question, even though I just told you I don't expect you to necessarily have the answer. I even gave you the out. I understand you're uncomfortable. Okay, but that's fine. You don't have to answer then. So that's okay. But because I was curious because I don't know like what can a tolerated person like handle in terms of say like morphine. So I just looked this up this is from a this is from Talbot Recovery, which I assume has to do with people that are addicted to drugs. But this says, on the other hand, morphine, the normal dose of medical morphine is between 20 to 30 milligrams. At this level, a patient who legally uses morphine may experience any combination of the following side effects: slowed breathing, mental disorientation, et cetera, et cetera. On the other hand, morphine addicts can grow to tolerate over 2 grams a day, though it normally only takes 200 milligrams to induce a fatal response. So, so that shows 10 times a morphine addict can tolerate 2 grams, right? 10 times the lethal amount for a person.
So that was a snack. That was a snack for George Floyd.
So if we assume, which is real quick. So then we don't have any good reason, because blood levels definitely aren't it. We don't have any good reason to assume that he died from overdose. Do we agree that if his neck wasn't being kneeled on, do we agree that he probably wouldn't have died?
See, I'm not convinced of that. To tell you the truth, I'm not convinced that if Derek Chauvin hadn't done the knee, that he wouldn't have died. Because I know he was already taking some fentanyl, right? And then right before they put him in the police car, didn't they have like the video where he then just downed, like he had an entire bag, right? He didn't want to get caught with the bag of his drugs. So then he downed, way more, like, right before all of that happened.
I don't think that was put on as evidence. I don't think that was established.
Am I making this up? I don't know.
We have Dr. Avi. Dr. Avi is a medical doctor, and I was wondering, Avi, do you have a take on this? I don't know what your take's going to be, frankly, but go ahead.
Yeah, so a couple things. So first off, as some people have already said, what the lethal dose is to kill someone from an opiate is going to depend very heavily on their tolerance. It's not like something univocal. You can just say, oh, this was the level, and so therefore a person cannot survive. Mm-hmm. But more importantly is the way that an opiate overdose kills someone from lack of oxygen is not in any way reminiscent of the way that George Floyd died. The way that opiates overdose kills someone from lack of oxygen is it decreases your desire to breathe. Your drive, your respiratory drive is decreased. People who die from opiate overdoses do not say, I can't breathe. They're fine with not breathing. They're content with not breathing. They don't complain of the inability to breathe. They're not trying to breathe. That's what kills them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, but George Floyd was complaining about not being able to breathe while he was still in the car. I mean, right? And so, like, he was having. So, I mean, there was some sort of drug effect.
Yes, that is incompatible with an opiate overdose mechanism.
So then, what do you attribute? I'm curious, Avi. Like, what do you attribute that to? Where George Floyd, he has no compressional force on his back and his neck. He's upright in the back of a police car,
and he's screaming hysterically as he's gasping.
Wait, hold
for
on.
air.
Just as a quick thing to clarify what you mean by that. When you say no compressional force, there was literally weight on him. How is nothing being compressed? What?
No, Destiny, I think you're confused here, because I'm not saying when he was on the ground. Obviously, when he was on the ground, there was compressional force on him. I was saying that George Floyd, when he was in the back of the police car, first he had been sat down in the back of the police car. He was upright, sitting. There was no compressional force. There was no one pushing against his chest, no one pushing against his back at the time. And he was hysterically screaming. He was gasping for air, saying, "I cannot breathe." While he was still in the car. You're aware of this, right? Or no?
I can answer how that's actually very consistent.
Okay.
That's true. So when you are having compressed, even though he wasn't being compressed at that moment, prior, when one is being compressed, they have an inability to perform respiratory exchange, to exchange oxygen with carbon dioxide. It's the carbon dioxide buildup that increases respiratory drive. If you have been compressed and you are not able to exchange oxygen with carbon dioxide and you have a carbon dioxide buildup, you're going to have very heightened respiratory drive and have the feeling that you can't breathe or you're not respirating enough, even if you don't have a compressional force. It's not just compressional forces that give you. You don't need someone to be choking you on the neck to feel that.
Also, there could be a million things going on. He could be having a panic attack. He could just be out of breath from like fighting with cops. He could just be saying random shit so that they don't lean on him or so that they give him a break or whatever because he's trying to get out of getting arrested. There could be a million things going on.
There's all sorts of things that could be going on. But one thing that is not going on that I can tell you was not the cause here was an opiate overdose. You would not expect any of those things to happen.
Yeah. Or to be more clear, maybe there could have been one going on, but we have no good evidence to suggest that this is like a primary thing causing him to die at that point. It doesn't seem like there's good evidence.
Right, because the way that it causes that opiate overdose cause people to die is exactly the opposite of what you're seeing. It's they are not complaining. They are not having an increased respiratory drive. Everything you're seeing here suggests an increased respiratory drive.
Mm-hmm.
Does that move you at all? I just want to ask Brian, has that moved you even 1%, what you just heard from Avi and Destiny?
I think of everything in terms of like likelihoods. Like, is there a likelihood that, he would still be alive had Derek
Has
Chauvin...
that moved you, yes or no?
No, that hasn't really moved me at all. Like I said, just to summarize, there is nuance.
Not even 1%. So what about what Avi just said was not at all convincing? What rebuttal do you have to what Avi said?
Well, there's several things. Okay, so like what Avi was specifically commenting on, or say the effects of say the opioid. Or actually, no, there is one thing that what moved me actually to move me slightly in a direction was more what Destiny had said. I think Destiny made a good point. I don't even think it was brought up during the trial at the time. So, but credit to Destiny, he did bring up a good point, and that was saying that maybe George Floyd can just handle way more drugs than the average man. I mean, that's certainly a possibility. I think that.
Hold on, wait. I'm so sorry. Hold on, just because I'm so tired of dealing with bad faith conservatives. Okay, you're making this sound like it's incredible. This is standard behavior. You build tolerances to pain. Like when you make this sound
I think it's kind of impressive.
What?
I said it's kind of impressive.
It's not impressive. It's like it is an expected response to these types of drugs. It's one of the reasons why people becoming hooked on painkillers coming out of hospitals. Like you're laughing and giggling now because it has to do with some black dude that died that you don't give a fuck about. But like this is a huge issue with people, and it's one of the big issues putting people on painkillers. Like somebody coming back from the hospital saying like, "Fuck, I think I have like an addiction to painkillers." Like, "Oh my god, like you're just taking them for fun?" Like, bro, that's fucking crazy. Like that's just a really stupid thing to say. Like people that get addicted to drugs develop higher tolerances. This is why they need more of them. It's why they sometimes eventually overdose and die. Just putting that out there. Yeah.
It would be convincing to me, actually, no, but like Destiny, like I said, I want to give you credit because you made a good point. What would be convincing to me is like, if there was evidence, like if you could show, okay, look, George Floyd had, handled this amount of fentanyl in the past and just dealt with it like a champ. Like, and if that was out there, I'd be like, you know what? Okay, maybe it was, it was just the panic. But like I said,
that's what everyone's saying, that he's an addict, that he's a fentanyl addict. That's what people are saying.
I understand that too, but like one thing that's, like I said, that there's multiple things about it. Another, obviously, the fentanyl is a factor, right? He had a large amount of fentanyl in the system, but like once again, like even the way that Derek Chauvin was pushing down on his neck, like would it be extremely uncomfortable? Is it inhumane? Yes, but I think there's a big difference between uncomfortable, inhumane, could, possibly cause, cervical damage. You could say all those things in there, but in terms of like, cutting off air, it just doesn't, like I said, I've been doing jujitsu for 20 years. Like it just does not do that.
Oh, okay. So let's, I just want to get your current position. Then I want to get a response to Avi, and then we'll go to Odashara. So, so real quick, your current position is it is more likely than not that he died of opiate overdose. That's fair?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Okay. What about Avi's description?
I could be wrong, but that's go ahead.
I understand you could be wrong, but right now you do have a position, which is it's more likely than not that Derek Chauvin was wrongfully convicted, right? Because causation is a but-for causation is a required element for these offenses. Even the felony murder-related version of murder requires causation. And so what you're saying is it's more likely than not that Derek Chauvin was wrongfully convicted of murder. And so my question for you is, what response do you have to Dr. Avi? Dr. Avi just told you that what we would expect to see in an opiate overdose is a lack of desire or a lack of, can you actually put it in better terms?
Respiratory drive. It's a lack of respiratory drive. Everything that Derek Chauvin was exhibiting is a very strong presence of respiratory drive, a heightened respiratory drive. That's simply not the way opioids kill people.
Do you have a response to that? And after that, we'll go to Odashara if you have a thought.
Yeah, that's a good point that Avi brought up. So like Avi, then like, I mean, how do you explain? Okay, like if he had a strong respiratory drive, like I mean, do you really think like, 160-pound man putting a knee on the back of his neck was cutting off oxygen, cutting off blood where he was unable to breathe? I mean,
wait, you're pivoting now. We can discuss that, but hold on, because you just said it's most likely. Look, there could be some third option, whatever. Maybe it's the knee, maybe it was the third. But right now, let's just do it one by one, because you said it's most likely the opiates, and I'm pointing out to you that this is not even remotely how opiates kill people.
Mm-hmm.
So before we go on to what did kill him, let's just get what didn't kill him out of the way. It was not opiates. Opiates don't kill people by.
Also, I'm trying to read. I'm trying so hard to find these lethal limits now, and I just don't know where this is coming from. Blood concentrations of approximately 7 nanograms per milliliter or greater have been associated with fatalities where polysubstance use was involved. So this is blood concentrations of approximately 7 nanograms per milliliter. His blood content was 11 nanograms per milliliter. This isn't many times. This isn't like over and over many times the lethal limit. It doesn't even look like.
Sorry, go over those numbers again.
I'm just Googling around trying to find the LD50 for fentanyl. I'm seeing this website from European Drug Unions or European Union Drug Overdose stuff is saying blood concentrations of approximately 7 nanograms per milliliter or greater have been associated with fatalities, and his blood level was 11 nanograms per milliliter.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not even like he wasn't even 2 times over the lethal limit.
They're saying that's 7, like 7 is lethal, and he was at 11, so he was like a time and a half.
Yeah, I guess. I'm not sure. I'm just trying to look. I'm trying to find more information.
I thought it was like 3 or 4. I mean, that's a high. I thought it was like 3 or 4.
But I also think, to be fair, to hit on what Abby said, because this is frustrating, because it happens a lot. Do you do any recreational drugs?
Oh yeah. I do plenty of recreational drugs. Yeah.
Do you do downers?
I mean, somewhat. I mean, I mostly weed. I mean, I have a dab rig.
Okay, I mean, like for people that are doing downers, like you typically take them and then you just kind of like sink into the couch and then you just kind of like chill.
Yeah, or I just go on Twitter Spaces and have conversations.
Yeah. So I don't have any experience with opioids, but I imagine the downer experience on opioids at certain doses is probably pretty simple. That when you're on downers, if you're ODing on downers or whatever, the idea of you like running around and screaming and stuff doesn't seem to be consistent with how you would expect somebody on downers to die. I feel like it'd be more like they're on the ground drooling and they roll over and they either suffocate on their own like tongue or drown in their own drool, or your respiratory drive is depressed enough that either your diaphragm isn't pumping enough or you're just not breathing, and then you kind of die that way. Running around screaming doesn't seem to be consistent with, for what Abby's said, and then my own personal experience with recreational drugs, doesn't seem how you would OD on downers.
Question for Avi. I mean, like, okay, so in terms of contributing factors, you would say that the fentanyl or whatever. So the fentanyl you would say is in terms of contributing factors, you'd put that at 0, not even 1%.
This is to Dr. Avi, and then we'll go to Otisara.
Yeah, this is to Avi. Sorry, don't know if you heard me. I was just saying that you would say that the fentanyl was 0% contributing factor to.
I don't know why it wouldn't be 0%, but it's like his obesity was probably a contributing factor as well. Like,
I don't know if I had bad perception here, but.
What?
And he had a heart condition.
Why
don't you have a? Why does that not affect you at all? What Destiny just said. Okay, we're gonna move on.
Sorry, you guys are cutting in and out. Can you please, whatever you just said?
Am I cutting in for you, Destiny?
Okay. No, you're not. You're fine.
Okay. All right. Let's go to Otis R. What's your opinion about this? And let's try to tie it back, if we can, at some point to the double standard and the political implications here.
Oh, wait.
What?
On that last guy, I'm so sorry because this was your fault. Pisco got sidetracked on this whole George Floyd shit. I tried to look up the Minneapolis mayor stuff. It seems like that he did call for the police to abandon one precinct. Now, whether it was because he thought they didn't have the police to hold it down or he thought it would exacerbate violence, I'm not sure. I haven't seen any articles or any indication that he thought this was a politically popular move. Basically, the day after, the next morning, and over the night when it happened, it was an incredibly unpopular move. And he literally had to do a press conference next morning to answer for what was going on, to figure out what was happening. This is before they eventually called in the National Guard. So I don't see any evidence whatsoever that he intentionally called the police back just because he wanted to watch the city burn. Yeah.
What are we saying here? That these mayors wanted more chaos because of why? How was that beneficial?
Wait. One real quick thing. I said George Floyd was obese. That was totally wrong. I'm so sorry. For some reason, he's obese coded in my mind, but he wasn't. He was shredded. My bad. Go ahead. Continue.
But he had a heart condition. So.
He might have. Yeah. Go ahead.
All right, Brian, respond, and we have to go to Otis R. My bad.
Okay. Sorry. All right.
Well, let him respond because I just said that. Unless he's got a response to that.
Yeah. I do. Yeah, like Destiny. No, one other thing I wanted to add, because I mean, the whole point was we were just trying to talk about, this kind of whole started with Mark Robinson, and look, like Republicans are not coming out and condemning him, and I was like, yeah, like I understand they're extremely partisan and they want to win at all costs. And, but I was also saying, like, Democrats, like, do not have a moral high ground on this. And, you would ask for an example. And then the example I brought is like, look, they're willing to let their cities burn because they felt like it was politically advantageous. And there's another part of that too. I mean, you keep in mind, I mean, this was like what, May, or was it June of 2020? And this is right at the height of COVID. And I remember, you had, I remember there was protests that were like, a month earlier about, protesting lockdowns, and they were dealt with like pretty swiftly. And then as soon as this happened, it was like, oh, well, maybe we should, COVID's a thing, but, you should, this systemic racism is so bad and so
When you say
scary,
protests dealing with lockdowns were dealt with swiftly.
Yeah, they were.
What the hell are you talking about?
They were like, it's not like, yeah, because at the time,
So what the hell are you talking about when you say they were dealt with swiftly? Just answer.
Let me explain exactly what I'm talking about. So, for example, like when people were protesting lockdowns, there was a big freak out about like, oh my God, social distancing, and this is gonna, spread COVID.
No, we're just asking, when you say dealt with, did they make protesting illegal? Did they arrest people who were protesting? Did they?
No, let me rephrase. I just meant like the way that they were covered was way different.
Okay, so nothing happened is what you mean to say. So then back to the mayor thing. Yeah, okay. So just to be clear, you brought up this Minneapolis thing.
Do you not agree with my point at all?
No, it doesn't. Another point. It's not. No, we're not going to agree or disagree. It doesn't matter. The point is irrelevant. The original question was: is there any person that you can think of that is the equivalent to this abdication of morality, of character, of responsibility for a guy who's being endorsed by an ex-president who's running for president? And the first example that you could think of, maybe the only example, the best one, was the mayor of Minneapolis, which is still an important position. And then it was because you said that he intentionally allowed a city to burn. It sounds like he called the police out of a single precinct. That I don't see any evidence to suggest that he did this because he thought it would be advantageous for his career, and he caught heat for it basically immediately and the next morning. And yeah, if this is the comparison, we're not even remotely similar here.
Okay.
Well, you agree, right? That what you just said, that is not remotely comparable to Mark Robinson. Do you agree, yes or no, that it's not remotely comparable?
I mean, I do agree that's like a way different situation. It's a different situation, but like I was just saying on a broader level of like, okay, like are Democrats, willing to say abandon like morality and ethics in pursuit of power? Like I do think they are. Like maybe you disagree.
Do you agree, yes or no, or I don't know, that this is on orders of magnitude different in the sense of less bad than the silence related to Mark Robinson's comments?
Oh no! See, I would disagree with that one. I would disagree with that because I mean, look at the consequences of asking, or like you said, abandoning police precincts, or not having a strong law enforcement reaction at the time of riots. I mean, you had billions of dollars of damage, and you had cities and small businesses.
And you're saying it's his fault. It's his fault. He's responsible for the damage.
I mean, if you're
yes,
telling
no, I don't know. Is it his fault?
What? Yes. I mean, of
okay.
course,
All right. Well, we have to move on. Sorry, I think that's ridiculous, but that'll stand. Odesara, sorry for delaying so long. Your comment.
Oh no, wait. Actually, wait. One more question, and then I'm done. I'm sorry. I'm undermining you. I'm not. Okay. One more question. Wait. Do you agree then that for the 3 hours that Trump watched the Capitol burn, was that also Trump's fault?
Oh, you're saying like during January 6th?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, he could have acted more swiftly for sure.
It's his fault, right? You said that it was the mayor's fault for causing it, for failing to respond quickly. So it's also Trump's fault, yes?
Well, okay, the equivalent would be like Trump asking law enforcement to stand down. Did he do that?
Oh my God.
Okay.
I mean,
we'll let that stand. If people want to read into that distinction,
you're trying to be elusive. Like, I mean, you're saying that the equivalent would be the mayor just not saying anything, right? So like you're saying, okay, Trump didn't say anything, but he didn't actively say, hey, look, stand down, like do not arrest these people, right? I mean, that was what some of these mayors were doing. I thought it was crazy at the time. I don't think you could.
Well, hold on, you're generalizing after you failed to prove the specifics. So I'm guessing this probably never happened, but
we'll have to let that stand just for now. I appreciate the comment. Odesara, sorry for the delay.
Good talk.
No, it's okay. I'm just a nurse, and this guy that was talking about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, apparently he never gets tired and never has to gasp for air. I was going to say the same thing Dr. Avi was saying. That's all.
Oh, thank you. Do you do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu too, or you just know about it?
No, I'm a nurse, and I was an EMT, first responder. So when this guy was saying that, why would you gasp for air just because he's not like cutting out the oxygen supply or brain supply? He's never heard of like being tired or panic attacks.
Well, I'll let that comment stand. I think Brian Thanos did have a response to it. I don't agree with it, but I appreciate that he's here giving his ideas. I do know that Brian Shush is a conservative and I believe a Trump supporter. So Brian Shush, give us your take on Mark Robinson, MAGA. What's going on with this degenerate movement?
I'm not really a MAGA supporter, so.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. I wanted to bring up one point. You guys were talking about something that the Democrats did that's just as bad. I would say Bob Menendez would be an example of that.
Yeah, well, you mean the fact that he was called out like immediately by Democrats, or at least within some reasonable period of time, he was called out, and he.
How long did he stay in office for?
Yeah, he stayed in office. They didn't have the votes to. I agree, by the way. I think that the Democrats should have gotten rid of him. But do you believe that it's on the same level as the silence and the same kind of uniformity in failing to call out?
I don't agree that it's silent for Mark Robinson. He's been getting people to tell him to step down. He's refusing. Do you agree that he's getting people to tell him to step down?
No, I'm not aware of major conservative or MAGA figures telling him to step down. I'm not aware of that.
Well, I don't know what you mean by MAGA conservatives. I don't know what that means.
Officials. Are there any politicians, number one?
Well, this is a breaking story. Right now, I'm not aware of any, but I have no idea.
I mean, when we say breaking, are we 3 days old now, or how long?
Yeah, that's pretty breaking.
How long does it take them to comment on anything relating to the Bidens, or anything related to Harris, or anything related to the
talking about Trump?
Or anybody? It doesn't have to be just a lawmaker. I think a lawmaker would be good, especially a federal one, although a state one could be good as well. Or also like any major mainstream or alternative media figures, right? Like a Sean Hannity or a Ben Shapiro or a Tim Pool or any of these people. Yeah.
Well, I mean, your question is pretty hard to prove because it's been only 3 days. I don't watch every single one of their segments to see if they've ever condemned it. It's hard for me to say, yeah, someone condemned it because it's been only 3 days.
Should it be condemned by Trump?
Yeah, it should be. But let me tell you this. Let me ask you this. My understanding of this issue is this is something he posted on a porn website 10 years ago. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So is it possible that he's just a stupid troll?
No.
It's not possible. You take his word seriously on that porn website.
Sorry, it is possible in the sense that it could have happened, but it is not reasonably reasonable conclusion. That's what I should have said. It's not a reasonable inference.
Then what evidence points to?
I would say, hold on, I'll break from Pisco here. I actually, when I read those comments, it is possible that he was just like sexually fantasizing or doing whatever else. That's totally possible. But would
that's different than trolling. Wait. Sorry, I agree with that, but it's different than trolling.
Sure. Well, nobody knows what trolling means anymore because MAGA people have literally destroyed the fucking word.
Say things you don't believe to get incitement out of other people.
Or could have just been sexually fantasizing. Right?
Or that too. Sure.
Yeah.
But I would distinguish that from trolling. I agree with that.
Okay. Yeah. I don't think he was trolling. If that's the definition we're going with, there's no shot that somebody would attach their real name to shit like that and troll that way. That would be fucking suicide. Political suicide.
No, come on, you agree with that, Brian?
I don't agree with that. Maybe I don't know the information. 10 years ago, was he in office?
No.
So why would he care that his name is on there 10 years ago?
Well, I'm guessing he was doing. I mean, I can look it up. Did this guy just become the lieutenant governor out of fucking nowhere? He had no background in politics or professional life at all, and he just one day ran. And was like,
he made a speech about guns, I think, and then like he got picked up by MAGA, and then I do believe.
Oh, I didn't know he was a MAGA politician. My bad.
Yeah. So, but like, I think that usually when you're trolling, you don't attach your name to things like that, and when you're doing when you're saying I'm a black Nazi, something so like.
He said this on an Ebony porn site, by the way. That's the added to that context.
Yeah, with his real name and with his email that he uses.
Do you think all right, maybe I think too highly of people, but I don't think someone.
He went to a porn store 5 times a week.
Yeah, I don't care that he goes to a porn store.
Doesn't that indicate to you that it's probable that these are like actual fantasies as opposed to I'm just playing a troll on who? Who's he trolling? The porn website guys?
It's trolling other people, but I already gave this that it's possible he fantasizes about this. So right now we're just talking semantics about how it's possible that it's not really anything. It's a nothing burger.
What do you mean it's possible? Yeah, it's possible that he's actually been.
Well, because you're making the claim that he is a Nazi. That's your claim.
I made the claim that he said he's a black Nazi.
No, that's not what you. No. That's not your implication. That's not what you mean when you say those words.
Well, I think that it's consistent with his beliefs that he's.
So then that is your claim. That is your claim.
I think that there is a good chance. By good chance, I put it.
Okay, so I'm glad I got that out of
20 and 40% chance that he actually is a black Nazi. Dustin, would you agree with that percentage, or would you put it higher or lower? Or what
I would say I don't think there's good reason to believe that. But now that I'm looking at other statements this guy's made, I feel he probably. I don't know if he's like a card-carrying Nazi, but yeah, he probably aligns with them on a lot of. I mean, the Nazi Party for better or for worse today is actually a lot more accepting of different races than they used to be.
Right? Yeah, everything's so more inclusive. What are the comments that gave you that impression that it's now real?
It seems like he's heavily in favor of like blanket bans on abortion, which isn't that strange, but also on gay marriage, I think, which is a pretty extreme position, at least in today's political climate. He makes a lot of the unhinged comments about trans people all wanting to be molesters and calls them demonic, which I think is like pretty extreme.
That's extreme, but it's not Nazi extreme. That has nothing to do with Nazis.
He's questioned the Holocaust.
Actually, I haven't even got to the Holocaust stuff yet. I see him like not believing that basically COVID was real, that it was a globalist conspiracy that was just to attack Donald Trump.
That's crazy. Yeah, sure.
Sure, but I mean, like, yeah, that's why maybe he's not Nazi, but he's going to be like Nazi alignment and all the conspiracies and all that shit. But this is what I just got like through 2 articles. I don't know. Let me.
That's what I'm saying. Breaking news.
No. These aren't breaking news. This is an article from 2020. Okay, so this is not breaking.
By the way, this is a Facebook post that Robinson posted in 2018. Hitler disarming, all caps, millions of Jews and then marching them off to concentration camps is a bunch of hogwash. Close quote. What do you think about that?
I think he's an idiot.
You think that is that one can make a reasonable inference that he's a Holocaust denier?
What was this on? It was on his Facebook.
His Facebook with his name.
Yeah. I could say that he's at least a Holocaust questioner / denier.
How about this? The center and leftist-leaning Weimar Republic put heavy gun ownership restrictions on German citizens long before the Nazis took power. The foolishness about Hitler disarming millions of Jews and then marching them off to concentration camps is a bunch of hogwash. Repeating that hogwash makes the conservative argument against the current attempts by liberal Marxists to push unconstitutional gun control measures in this nation look foolish. He put scare quotes around the word million Jews.
Now that you gave the full context of it, it just sounds like he's a fucking idiot again. He's interpreting that information from today's standards and saying, "Whoa, the left is trying to get rid of our guns. Look what they did before." It's gonna
Wait,
go
what?
like the
Hold
same
on.
way.
He says that the popular movie Black Panther was created by an agnostic
There's
Jew
more.
and put to film by a satanic Marxist and was only created to pull the shekels out of your Schwartzy pockets, which is apparently a Yiddish slur for black people.
Okay.
Do you think it's a reasonable inference that Mark Robinson is a anti-Semite?
Reasonable inference. I would say I question if he is an anti-Semite. Yes, I would say that.
Oh, sorry, I asked a question. Do you think that would be
gave an answer.
reasonable? Yes, no, I don't know, or
I gave my
need
answer
more
as
information.
it stands.
So no, I'm not sorry. I'm going to ask the question again. Do you think that it's a reasonable conclusion? I'll say a reasonable conclusion for someone to see those statements and conclude that Mark Robinson is in fact an anti-Semite? Yes, no, I don't know.
Well, I guess the answer would be that I don't know. Only because while it's enough evidence for me to question, like, hey, this guy might be, I don't see enough evidence for me to say he is.
What would you need to see to think he is anti-Semitic?
More than just stupid posts from 10 years ago. I would need to see something more recent.
Okay, wait. Do you think? Do you think it was anti-Semitic 10 years ago?
He might be. 10 years ago, I could say that. Yeah, maybe 10 years ago he was anti-Semitic.
So then, wait. What would you have needed to have seen? Can you give me an example comment or example comments or an example thing?
For what? 10 years ago or now?
No, for either. For you to think like, oh, this guy might be like a Nazi.
I just said 10 years ago he might be. Oh, I don't know about Nazi, but 10 years ago I would say that 10 years ago he probably was anti-Semitic.
Yeah, but you're saying probably. What would move you to like 90% plus?
Definitely.
Like 90% plus.
A signed affidavit saying I'm an anti-Semite.
No, I don't. Because my thing is I don't know all the statements. Destiny was reading some, which I
you
know
were
about.
asked what statements would you need to see, not what statements were.
Hold on. What I need to see. I would need to see more of those statements then.
Okay.
Yeah.